shit just doesn't spontaneously combust. When they do that, they feel like they're just burning down abandoned buildings, not realizing that they're burning down whole legacy.
The history of Atlanta is vanishing all around us. Throughout history, black folks have come together to pool resources, to empower and sustain their communities. Our Black Wall Streets, our places of worship, and our HBCUs came from the collective work of black communities.
Show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own.
Inspiration from our ancestors moves from motivation to action. We have the opportunity to preserve a space for black-owned businesses in our vanishing communities. We have the opportunity to ensure that our culture exists in the future. When the great-great-grandchildren look back at this time in history, they will see the faces of black folks and the community who came together to save ourselves. We will no longer stand in the shadows of displacement and allow it to define us. We are Black history in the making. We will tell our own stories in a place that connects culture, community, and legacy. We are the Connect.
Hey family, welcome to our online edition of Hustle and Grow ATL. We're having a few little hiccups, so please bear with us. We wanted to make sure that we were coming directly to you to be able to share some of the COVID-19 small business resources and tips. For those who are just joining in, my name is Kiyomi Rollins. I am a serial entrepreneur. I wear 1,000 hats, but tonight I'm going to wear the title of the co-founder of Ujamaa Fest. Ujamaa Fest is our 10-year celebration of cooperative economics, financial literacy. It is a principle of Kwanzaa that my family has celebrated and shared with the community for over 10 years. This year, we are so excited that we are able to take the idea of cooperative economics, which is this one end of the year celebration that we do, and turn it into the manifestation of a physical space called the Connect. I want you guys to make sure that you guys are staying in contact with us. Make sure that you're subscribing to the Ujamaa Fest website. The website is ujamaafest.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter and be all up to date with all the things that we have happening. Also, make sure that you head on over to the Connect page to learn all about our cooperative space. The Connect is a retail space which we will house several Black-owned businesses, food trucks, a farmer's market. The Connect is our community development that Mark and I have been working on for about a year now. Please be in mind, keep us uplifted during this time as we are putting on the hat of community developers. So the Connect, please learn more about it. We have a capital campaign happening right now. Make sure that you guys log on to those links that are showing up on your screen so you can learn more about the Connect. And we also want to make sure that you guys are subscribed to our newsletters and everything that we have that's happening. So that video that opened at the top of the show was our video where we were talking about what the Connect is and development there. I'm going to scroll down on our notes because I've just kind of been rambling. But tonight on our show, we're going to have two amazing, just favorites of mine. We have Keisha Page Drama from the creative director of It's Popping Vintage. And we also have Cicely Garrett, who is known as a creative disruptor, right? Before we begin our chat, and I'm hoping that everyone is getting a chance to make sure that you are grabbing, your notepad, getting that cursor ready to copy and paste. I wanted to be able to share a few little tips about Keisha before we bring her on. Keisha has had successful brick and mortars. She is also the curator of an outdoor vintage festival. She does several pop-up festivals, she does events, and she has an amazing online digital space called It's Popping Vintage. It is one of my favorites, and she is also a personal shopper as well. One little known fact about Keisha is that she used to be a funeral home director. So we wanted to be able to bring Keisha right on. Keisha, are you here?
I'm here.
Keisha, say hello to the people.
Hey y'all, what's up? What up though? That's my proper response. What's up? What up though?
So listen, Keisha, right before we jump into our great questions and small business resources, I wanted everyone to kind of get really familiar and to kind of know you a little intimately. Can you please share what is your most blackest black moment?
Ooh. All right. Okay, so my other former career was in youth development. So I worked at the Boys and Girls Club and, different after school programs from Detroit to Atlanta. And I always kind of like joned a little bit on them 38-year-old grandmamas that used to come in the building with their grandkids at 38. So my most blackety black moment is when my 4-year-old became an uncle, go figure. And that's I got a 25-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 9-year-old, so and some grandkids.
So that was your most blackety black moment.
Yeah.
All right, and so Keisha, can you also share with us what do you feel is a thing that could get your black card revoked?
Well, I guess I guess I can get my black card revoked for not really like rocking with soul food that much. Like that dressing, it'd be good, but it just had me feeling a certain type of way. And maybe it's because, growing up you ate it every Sunday, that shit just got real old and tired. So like now I don't even really rock with it. So you can take my card for that.
So how are you and your family doing during the quarantine right now?
Oh, we're good. We're good. We're maintaining, you know what I mean? We're maintaining.
Nice, nice, nice. Now, I am a longtime customer and supporter of It's Poppin' Vintage. I love all of your posts. I love all of your services. I use the personal shopping services all the time, the personal shopping and styling services. The one thing that I noticed during the COVID-19 pandemic that we are in is that your brand is still operating. Can you please share how you're able to operate during these times?
I mean, I just gotta give it to the people. Like the people that's been rocking with me for the past 5 years. Like, I just gotta give it to them. Like, I'm staying current though. Like, I got clothes. Like, I'm not gonna be without because I'm just a natural born hustler like that. But I gotta give it to my clients, my customers, my time admirers or followers. Like, I gotta give it to them because without them, I wouldn't even be running like I'm running.
So how important has it been for your brand to have a digital presence right now?
Man, that mean everything. That means everything. Like, I closed the brick and mortar. It's crazy because I closed the brick and mortar about 2 months ago, like in January, like straight up. And I closed it because I was making more money online. And so after like the pandemic started and everybody started being at home, it just kind of like skyrocketed. And I was really, really surprised. I mean, I knew people rocked with me, but like, I guess people were putting other people on, And so like, I've been doing really well since then.
Okay. Now, did you have a digital or tech background?
Oh, no, I'm definitely self-made. If anybody want to say they self-made, I'm self-made. Like I'm like you, you know what I mean? I'm like you. I do all my promos. I take pictures of all my clothes. I try to make sure my pictures are really nice and crisp. So if somebody want to zoom in, they can.
Nice.
I just try to have like really good products that I think people will purchase.
So how were you able to navigate, not having a strong digital or tech background? How were you able to kind of pivot or navigate to having that digital or tech be a part of your business?
What I do really, I scroll a lot. You know what I mean? And I look at other people, they get maybe like 17,000 followers and things like that. I kind of studied the game a little bit, and like, you know, everybody's on this new TikTok situation, and so I got on TikTok, like, let me learn. You know, I mean, it's trial and error, but ain't nobody judging me, ain't nobody giving me a grade, and I got plenty of time. So I just got on TikTok and like start like trying to navigate through that system, that platform, and that's been working well too. Yep.
Okay, okay. So can you share with us what are your top three small business apps that you can absolutely not live without right now?
I can never live without Instagram. I can't live without Instagram. My main platform is Etsy. And so with Etsy, it shows me who Etsy is bringing in and who Instagram is bringing in.
Okay.
And so from that, I kind of like juggle like what I need to do to try to boost up my Instagram presence, to kind of like match my Etsy presence, because Etsy is going to take care of it a lot when it comes to me like labeling outfits and, you know, putting in keywords, things like that. So, but those are my two. I guess my new third one would be TikTok, because it's just fun. You know, you can add music to it. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay, okay. So let me ask, what tips would you share with an entrepreneur right now who is seeking to onboard their operations to online or having that digital presence, and they don't have a tech or digital background? Like, what advice would you give to an entrepreneur right now?
You just gotta try. If you fail, that's just like feedback for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you fail, that's feedback for you on how you can do things better, do things different. You just got to keep pushing. You just got to have to like ignite that hustler instinct. Like I'm going to get it by any means necessary, and just go out there and just really try, like really, really grind, take some time. We got time. I know some people are working, but some people are not working, but just kind of like grind that thing out and just stick with it. The consistency.
Got you. Now, Keisha, I just want to make sure that we do our bit of housekeeping. Can you just tell us in your own words, what is It's Popping Vintage?
Yeesh. Okay, so It's Popping is a collective of vintage clothing from the 60s all the way to the 90s. It's mostly street style and streetwear. Mm-hmm. Or my thought is that you'll buy the outfit and create a street style, a streetwear like appearance to it. All of the clothing and inventory is like in impeccable condition. I wouldn't buy anything or sell anything that I wouldn't buy or like get myself. So everything is like top over here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you have the clothes. What about the personal shopping, styling services, the mystery shops, bags in a bundle? You're being way too, kind of cautious there, just laid back. What are all the things that Poppin' Vintage does?
It's crazy. It's crazy because I probably only have a handful of people that I personal shop for. And it's like, I've known them over the years. Don't mean I can't get to know nobody else. But, I can just bundle some stuff up and send it to LA, or bundle some stuff up and send it to New York, to some of my some clients that have known their style. But I have a questionnaire and like a survey so I can get to know exactly what you like. And then we have like a virtual consultation. And then after that, I will do the shopping, and then we'll talk again. And then after that, I just kind of like send that invoice, and then that's it.
So please tell us, what is in the future for It's Popping Vintage?
Like everybody, I'm a little sick right now because, my spring pop-ups and my summer pop-ups was about to be so lit. Like, people in Birmingham, I'm in Hoover, Alabama, but I'm down here in Birmingham. But for some reason, I'm like the only black girl that got vintage clothes. And so it was finna be lit, but I'm just about to grind it out. I'm about to grind it out and just keep selling all these clothes on Etsy. So that's about it. For right now. That's all. I mean, I could just judge what's going on right now.
So, Mama Keisha, if you don't mind, before we head on over to Sicily, I'm going to have you hang out in the comments just in case if there are some other questions, for you and about your brand. But can you, before we head on over to our creative disruptor, Sicily, can you please just drop all of your social media handles, where we can find you on Etsy, where we can find you on the gram, where we can find you on TikTok? Could you just share that with us, please?
Sure, no problem. It's Poppin' Vintage. You can reach me at Instagram at ITSPOPPIN.vintage. And Twitter is its_poppin'. And my Etsy link is It's Poppin' Vintage.
Perfect. And last, sorry. And last, I want to go circle back to what you said earlier for entrepreneurs. When you shared one of the most important things that you would say to an entrepreneur at this time is to just try. I think that is one of the biggest things for you to be able to experience and to have. Do you have any other closing statements before we head over to Miss Cicely?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're an online business, like right now, if you have any online ideas, like now is the time to like hold on to that and just kind of like manifest them dreams right now.
Okay.
Especially if you're not like a non-essential worker and you're at the house. It's no time like the present because people are really shopping online, and I was surprised myself, but people are really shopping online right now.
Sure. Well, like I said, hang out in the comments. I love you tremendously. I wish you nothing but prosperity and success for your business and your brand. We are looking forward to all the goodness that is coming from Is Popping Vintage. Like I said, hang out in the comments. Thank you so much for being a part of our first online edition of Hustle and Grow ATL. For everyone, please make sure that you are following and subscribing to Is Popping Vintage. Mama Keisha got all the good that you need over there. Thank you, Keisha, so much. And like I said, if you just hang out to our comments. And for everyone that is still hanging on with us, I want to make sure that we get Miss Cicely Garrett, who is our creative disruptor, on. She'll be coming up next. I also want to circle back because I did not mention, and Mark pointed out to me that also at the Connect, we do have our curbside at the Connect. That is our farmers market and our food truck event that we have happening this summer. So if you do know of any food truck operators or any farmers, please tag their names in the comments so we can connect with them. That will be happening Thursdays and Sundays as soon as we are all free again. But I wanted to make sure that I made note of that. And so if you guys will just hold on a second, we're going to get the amazing Cicely on the line. Cicely's going to small business resources that may be helpful for your business during these times. So just hold on for a second as we just pause for a second to grab Cicely on.
What if?
What if?
What if? What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
What if?
The Connect.
The Connect.
The Connect is an intentional and equitable space that will allow Black-owned businesses to thrive and sustain themselves in a cooperative space that fosters business, success, and growth. So while we're waiting for Cicely to get on, one of the things that I wanted to make sure is that everyone is aware of all of the small business resources that are out there. There are so many things from the SBA, business loan, which if we would have aired on Wednesday, those resources would have still been available. But the latest news and things that we've heard is that the government has run out of money, and all of that SBA loan funding has come to a complete halt and pause. So that is one of the things that we were going to share. But I wanted to bring on Cicely Garrett, who is a creative disruptor. What I could appreciate about Cicely, for those who this may be your first time getting to know Cicely, she wears many, many hats. But from the very beginning of COVID-19, she has been sharing as much information as possible as it relates to small business funding opportunities, grant opportunities. I look forward to her daily posts because there's always something very informative and very specific for Black-owned businesses. And so I wanted to bring her on tonight just for her to be able to share some of the resources that are out there. But before we head to Cicely, I wanted to give the audience the opportunity to kind of get to know her a little intimately, the same way that we just did with Mama Keisha. And so, Cicely, are you there? I think she is still trying to log on.
No, we had her.
She is still trying to log on. So while we're waiting for her to come back on, because she was just on, one thing that I do want to point out is I encourage you all to research a lot of the mutual aid funds that are popping up in Atlanta, or if you're not watching this in Atlanta, I know nationwide, there are several mutual aids that are popping up. And mutual aids are a group of community or cooperative people that are pulling their resources together to be able to help your small business. So a very simple Google search of a mutual aid, you'll see those that pop up. We'll be sharing later on in this stream some screenshots of some of the Atlanta-based mutual aid opportunities. And how it's working is there is an application process for you to be able to fill out and for you to complete. I will encourage everyone that is watching this, when you come across an application that is something from the SBA, something from the mutual aid, something from a grant opportunity, fill it out in its entirety. If there is something where you get to a point where you just don't understand what that question is, or the document that they were asking for, or maybe your business is just structured a little differently, I would still encourage you to reach out to that organization. There's always an email, there's always some type of point of contact, and whatever that point of contact is, you want to make sure that you at least reach out to them and give yourself the opportunity to still just be in the mix, or still to be considered, or to still have your application reviewed. I've spent all of this week talking to business owners about various different applications and things, and at a certain point, a business owner gets stuck, right? And when they get stuck, they just don't complete the application. And so what I would encourage everyone is that we're in unprecedented times right now, and there is so much money that is available. Of course, we prefer those grants over those loans, but even the loans are structured in a way that are really advantageous for us as business owners. So I really encourage you all to fill out the application, complete it. If you get to a part that you are stuck or you are unaware of what it means, please look at that application, find a point of contact, email that person, that representative, and be able to find out. Also, just do a quick Google search. If you get to a part on the application and you are unaware of what one of the questions are asking, Google it, see what pops up. But I promise you there are representatives there, and in these times that really want to make sure that their support is there. They really want to make sure that this money and these things are in your hand. So I know the SBA application was a challenge to some. I know that it was really hard because, at first the website was overwhelmed, then it was delays, and then they kind of switched up the application process midway. I get it. We are really living in unprecedented times. I would say that when you see an opportunity, do not wait. There's only X amount of dollars that are there. So please make sure that you are filling out that application as soon as you get it. This is not the time to have the spirit of procrastination. I know as independent entrepreneurs and creatives that sometimes we kind of get frustrated over documents and applications. This is the time to really look beyond that space and just complete the application. You want to get your name in and you want to get your application in as soon as possible. There is not an endless pot or supply of money out there. So you want to make sure that you get your application in. So Miss Cicely, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Hey, Miss Cicely. And guys, I wish we had an applause sound effect, the clap for Cicely. She has been hanging on through all of our technical difficulties. So everyone, this is Cicely Garrett. As I said earlier, what I could appreciate about Cicely is every day Cicely is sharing at least 5 to different posts or resources as she's becoming aware of them. And I could really appreciate that. And I wanted to bring her on tonight to be able to talk about a few things. But before we jump into that, Cicely, we wanted to give everyone the opportunity to kind of get to know you a little intimately. Cicely, can you please share, a little known fact about Cicely is that she attended trade school for 9th grade in high school. And Cicely, you did improv classes for a year at Dad's Garage?
I did.
Cicely, you did improv classes.
I did. I thought it was when I was working at the food bank. I think it was a good way for me to disconnect and be outside of your head. Because in order to be really good at improv, you need to pay attention to your other people on stage with you.
Sure.
And because I was doing so much work in the community and facilitation, I wanted to be really good at taking in what was given to me, the yes and being able to think on my feet and act in the moment and not be thrown off by it. And so if nothing else, improv gets you that because you don't know. You take someone's cell phone from the audience, you play different games, you never know what song someone might shout out. You just have to roll with it and see what you can make from it.
Okay. So Cicely, can you share your most blackity black moment?
I feel like I have a blackity black moment almost every day. But I would say my introduction of what people remember me from college was freshman year. There was a house party. I went to a PWI in DC at Georgetown. So, there was Black people there, but it most certainly was not like going to AUC Center by any stretch. And like they were looking for a place to like make like drinks and stuff. And I was just like, y'all should just make a whole bunch of punch and just like set it out. But they're like, we don't have anything to put it in. I was like, what? You got like a clean trash bag, this big old gallon tub. And so I strapped it down and like, we just had like an online sort of pseudo listening party reunion the other day with one of the DJs from college. And someone in the comment section was like, remember when you made that trash can punch freshman year? So it still lives on. But that was some really good punch. I introduced them to some new workarounds of how you could make a way out of no way. But I think that was one of my most Black moments.
Wow. Okay. Now, can you also share what is something that you think may get your Black card revoked?
So especially living here, is I have been a Patriots fan since the early 2000s.
Okay.
I actually worked for the city at one time, and my first day of work in the mayor's office was the day after Atlanta lost the Super Bowl. So that usually shocks people. I mean, in my defense, there were several people from West Virginia, which is where I was born and raised, on the team when I started cheering for them. So it wasn't like I just picked them out of the atmosphere. But it definitely, throws people off, and especially Black people, that I'm a Pats fan.
Okay, so
and not from Boston.
So let's just jump right into our conversation. So your title is a creative disruptor, Cicely. So explain that a little bit to us. What is a creative disruptor?
Yeah, I mean, I like to consider myself more of untitled or somewhat like a free agent, but I think creative disruptor sort of puts some of the things into the bucket of what I do. I like to think of creative and alternative solutions that really serve people that look like me. Mm-hmm. In order for that to happen, you have to disrupt the status quo and what is happening now.
Sure.
But I'm not sort of a burn it all the way down to the ground sort of type of person, because with that, then like, what are you going to have to replace it? But how can we change the systems at play so that it has a greater effect and benefit for a larger audience, I think is what's most important and needed. And so I try to work between that. And quite frankly, one of the reasons you have me on is to freely share information. I feel like that is what is really limiting people. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to sometimes hear conversations and be in the rooms on both sides, like how is it you show up and how is it you bring that back to people who may not get to be in the room and at those tables, and how do you even change the table about whose it is? And so I'm always looking for ways to do that, and quite frankly, just to be unapologetic about it. I've figured out, quite some time ago that if I was going to work this hard every day and put in this much time and effort, then why shouldn't it be for people that look like me and to benefit my community?
Okay, nice. So a couple questions that I have. What suggestions, tips, or advice would you give for a person who is struggling or feeling intimidated about completing some of the applications that are out there for some of the small business funding opportunities, for some of the grants and some of the loans? What advice would you give?
Right. I mean, it could be overwhelming. I think this is somewhat similar to everyone's been out there at some point, and you've been looking for a job. And, people say looking for a job is like a job in and of itself. And so I think you have to schedule it. So no, maybe it's not an 8-hour a day thing, but you should devote and like actually put your own self on your calendar for a couple hours out of every day or whenever you're at your best. Like log in and see what's out there. Because after a few days, then you're only looking at what new stuff is, what's been added, like what you have to do from here. But I would suggest that for people. And then there are also places offering help and technical assistance. So a lot of the SBDCs, there's one from UGA, Morehouse has recently become one. They have people on tap where you can call. It may take some time, be diligent, and have people who know better than you help walk you through the situation. Don't be afraid to ask for help. At least if you have all your paperwork together and you just need help walking through, like let it be known or post it out there. There are also people now with skill sets and other stuff that have time and really want to help someone who is in need. So I definitely encourage people to put it out there. And don't be afraid to be somewhat unorthodox in your approach.
I agree.
So resources are resources. Help is help, even if it may not come from the place that you traditionally would think of, or you think that your business or organization fits. But if it's a resource that could benefit you and it's not even a non-traditional thing, like don't be afraid to go after it. Because quite frankly, the only thing you can't come back from in life is death. So the worst they can tell you is no.
Yes.
So definitely put it out there, because even if they run out of money, you want to be in the queue for when they get more money, because they can't let this stay where it is.
Yeah.
And so basically, if you're already ready and they're ready to go, then you don't have to be getting up to speed on it.
Sure. And for a lot of our small businesses who were creatives, and I thank you for pointing out trying to use some of those non-traditional or unorthodox, measures and things. I think some of the feedback that I've heard from some of the independent business owners have been businesses who've been in the space of creatives or consultants, and not feeling like they were eligible for, unemployment benefits, or for some of those SBA opportunities, or for some of those grant opportunities. And I love what you just kind of pointed out there. I think this is a time in small business that I do feel like even funders are kind of recognizing some of those, additional, industries. And so for those people who are those creatives, independents or sole proprietors, what advice would you have, or do you have some advice or some tips to share for their approach to trying to access some of these funds and resources?
Yeah, actually probably the majority. So I also consult for a few organizations, one of which is Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative. And so in that of seeking out resources to share business, I've found quite a few things for creatives. I think their industry is very well aware of it. I'm also on the board of Dad's Garage. And so they have frequent calls with the board about how can they take care of their artists, what are ways in which we can pivot, because they don't want to see people go under. And they recognize that, quite frankly, a lot of creatives, their second job was in service industry. So they lost both forms of income at one time.
Sure.
And so I think funders are aware. all the way from SBA, from the government down, about how this affects people. So they have opened it up to a wider swath of people. And so sometimes people may not be thinking of themselves in the way in which it shows up through mainstream language. But a lot of creatives, if you were getting paid on 1099 or by gigs, you were technically a business in and of yourself.
Yes.
So you too can apply for the loan. You don't have to wait for the theater you apply for, and vice versa. If you do to apply loans. So I think recognizing like how you are your own entity and brand. And then a lot of the national creative websites or organizations that represent on behalf of people have done like some really robust lists. People have started targeted things for creatives. I also think this is your opportunity to tell people what it is you need. If there's an organization you belong to or someone that represents you, rather than have them guess, like get together and think about this is how you can best serve us. If there's a group of you, if there's two, or if there's three, be very vocal about what it is that you need and putting it out there in all the ways that you can. Because I do think that one of the things that creatives have on their side is they've mastered sort of self-promotion and use of social media and other means. And so what are other ways you could either monetize or at least put out the message about what it is you need and what's going around, so that it can come back to you. I mean, creators are helping us get through this. I mean, thousands and thousands of us turn into Instagram Live every day just to see and hear what DJ is spinning, who's performing something. You know, it is the lifeblood of what you need in order to get through quarantine beyond just the basic sort of normal day-to-day stuff. And so how is it you could bring creative and still bring your art during this time, but also don't sell yourself short about where you belong as far as other organizations and businesses who need to be kept afloat.
That's a really good tip. That's a really good tip. What do you feel like? And again, I know this is, unprecedented times, but the question that I've been thinking about is how long do you think this funding cycle or funding phase is going to exist? And we definitely know it's not going to be this kind of continuous, ongoing thing. But what are your thoughts around how long you think this funding cycle will exist?
I think the funding cycle will come in waves. I think people are still cautiously optimistic in some ways, and so they are not releasing all of the funding that is available up front. Because say, glass half full, like COVID and quarantine, and we're all, back outside the house by June. Well, that technically still just isn't the end of it. Then you have to get people used to going back out places and buying things and recovering and coming back. And I think that's a much longer runway, probably through most of this year, and maybe, starting with 2021. And so I think they're trying to think about it strategically about like, what do we need to meet people here, right now? And then I think there's also more thought now going into what does this look like in the long term? Because the normal that we thought we knew before may not be an option. And so how can we pivot? And what can we do for the recovery of the comeback that comes from this? Because this is something that no one's ever experienced before, where you literally have a whole worldwide shutdown. And so no one has a blueprint to what that looks like. And so it is very dire now, and it can be very discouraging to people. But I also think it is a really good opportunity for us to make some sweeping and much needed systemic changes, because it has exposed sort of all of the limitations and the hurdles and the failures of the system have all been exposed and on display. And so to go back to what was the normal would just be a travesty at this point. And I don't know that it even is an option, even if people wanted to. But what could you do now that you have the opportunity to total rebuild a system, whereas before we just sort of made incremental like tinkerings. And so this is also the opportunity for those in need or those most effective to set the narrative about what the next phase of this looks like.
Yeah. And right before we head out, could you just share maybe the top 3 things that you feel that a small business, independent, I-9 freelance should try and focus on? And I appreciate you sharing this part about the funding going in like this wave. One of the conversations that I've had with a small business owner this week who was feeling very intimidated about some of the funding opportunities that were out there. and I was really encouraging them to, okay, get your stuff ready, because there's going to be this other wave that's going, to pop back up as we get back open and as we try to figure out like what the new norm is. So before we close out, what do you feel are the top 3 things that a small business could really focus on if they felt they were intimidated or not ready, or even those that did apply for funding resources? What are some things right now you feel like are going to be very advantageous for them to be able to focus on as it relates to making sure they're all their ducks in a row for some of those future funding opportunities?
Yeah, so I say, our moms used to say when we were younger, but it's true, the early bird does get the worm. And so there is funding. I mean, this week alone, even in the last 24 hours. So yesterday, there was a funding opportunity that came down that ACE, Access for Capital, came out, and it went live at 3 p.m. By this morning, they had to already close it because they had like over $5.3 million in requests, and it already filled. Yeah. And so for a lot of these opportunities, it is a game about like, can I at least just get in the queue? Because if you're in the queue, they could at least consider you if you have all your stuff in there. If there's just one piece of paper they're missing, they can ask for that, but they can't decide on that if you don't play, kind of like playing the lottery. And so do what you can and control what you can, which is your own stuff, your own numbers, having your data ready to apply and go in to apply stuff. If it's downtime, and even if they don't have money, but it's someone who administers it, don't be afraid to reach out and be like, what is it you look, or do you have a checklist of stuff? A lot of them publish it. I know ACE does. SBA has some on their webpage. Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative lists a lot of resources about what do I need to have all my stuff in a row, and get your checklist together so that you have this stuff. So as soon as something comes out, you can click apply and work your way through it. I also encourage people during this time, if there are other ways, similar to what Keisha was saying, that you could pivot your business to provide it in other ways. So yes, I may close my store down. Is there some other way for me to still serve? Or is there another way for me to be serving some other need that I hadn't previously thought? So, maybe no one's buying t-shirts. Can you be making and selling masks? Maybe no one is buying this. So like, what other skill set or other services that you have to offer that is being demanded now? Because people are still consuming. You're just consuming in different ways. And how can you pivot? Or, were you a chef before in a restaurant or a cook? But now, instead of working in the restaurant, can you go help one of the programs that's getting money to make prepared meals and after school meals? Because they're still paying someone to do that. Now, instead of doing it for people in a restaurant, you're just doing it to help other people in the community. So look for opportunities like that. And then even if there's not a way for you to go online or do your business right now, be planning for what it looks like of when this ends and when this comes back. Sure. How are you going to pivot? What do you need to shift? What do you need to shore up? What do you need to change about how you operate to make sure that you are not in this position again? Because there will also be funds and other stuff dedicated to helping people come back to this. And so you want to be ready for when that comes about too, to say like, this is what I need in order for me to come back and be better from this, and to really be resilient and persevere through this, and not just come back and still sort of be fledgling along.
Yes, so I want you, so thank you. That was really good, Cicely. So I want to just try and circle back to some of the spaces where you said that there is technical assistance that is available to kind of help support with some of those processes. And if you could just mention those community stakeholders that were offering some of that technical assistance again before we sign off.
Yeah, so there's it's called SBDC. You can Google that, or Small Business Development Centers. And so most of them are connected to universities in the area. So there's one at Georgia State, there's one at UGA. Morehouse most recently became one, and they are centers that are hubs that are meant to support small businesses. And just in the same way that small businesses received funds and other stuff from Small Business Administration, they also released more funds for business centers that help businesses. And so they have funding to grow in capacity, even though, you can imagine their demand is great, but definitely visit them. You have Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative. They just did their first round of grant. They'll announce next week. They will also have some forgivable loan products coming out in the future as well. ACE continues to introduce several different business loans on behalf of different counties as well as themselves each week. So definitely stay in tune with them. your local chambers as well.
Yeah.
And then also whoever is the leader within your industry. So if you're a creative, who's there, like Fulton County Arts and other stuff are releasing things, look at large philanthropy and help make the connection for them about why it is they should be supporting your business, because they just may not know enough about how you feel a need and a bucket. And then there's lots of national organizations as well, so you can be set up on their websites to get alerts from them. We put out, Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative puts out a resource list every week, and so that gets shared around. I share other resources outside of just for small businesses on my website as they come. People tell me about it, because it does no good for me just know about myself. I'd rather share it out and let people continue to freely share it, and hopefully it benefits someone. But yeah, definitely like spend a good portion of your day or start and middle and other stuff just doing surveys of certain people who are connected to other stuff to help keep information flowing in that is pertinent to you.
Yeah. And right before we head on out, we also, I'm not sure if we were able to share, right before we started to stream or went live, also on Monday, I believe at 12 p.m. on the Save Small Business Small website, there is a funding opportunity specifically for small businesses that are located in the 30310 zip code. So we'll show that on the screen. The website is there for businesses to be able to go there and apply for that. But Cicely, thank you so much for just bearing with us through all the kinks, the technical difficulties, and joining in. Thank you so much for that information. And just as we've done all the time, as we get information sent to us, we are forwarding that over to our Ujamaa Fest Facebook page and our Instagram page. So I just want you all to really take heed to what Cicely said. Yes, there's a pot of money, but it is not this endless amount. So it is very important. We can't stress that enough to get your applications in. Get them in, get them in, get them in. Worry about what you might think that you don't have later. Just get the applications in. But just make sure that you guys are following our Facebook page for Ujamaa Fest. As we're getting resources, we are sharing that on our page. We are also forwarding things to our newsletter. So please make sure that you are subscribing to our newsletter. This is our 10th year celebration of Ujamaa Fest. We don't know what the space is going to look like 10th year celebration this year, but we are working on it. But for right now, we are committed to coming to you all on a weekly basis to be able to share those resources. So make sure you stay tuned with us next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. for our next edition of Hustle and Grow ATL. We will be featuring Ann Hill Bond, who is actually starting a business during the COVID pandemic. Her business is called The Table. We'll also have Elizabeth Wilson from Georgia Micro Enterprise Network. And we'll have Kyle Lamont, who will be sharing some information about some additional funding sources for Fulton County. So thank you guys so much. Continue to be still and sequestered. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments if we did not answer them during the stream, and we'll make sure that we get back to you. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a good evening.